Right, so one of our top stories today, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga will later today announce the 2023 Matric results. Let's cross to SABC News reporter Chriselda, who is live for us at the Mosaiek Church in Johannesburg. Chriselda, good afternoon. Perhaps as we draw closer to those results being announced and the NEC results are also edging closer, what's happening on your end as we speak?
Well, absolutely, and I can tell you that the nerves are certainly setting in. The temperatures are rising, and of course, we're live, as you indicated, from Randburg here in Johannesburg. And this is where, a little bit later on this afternoon into this evening, the Basic Education Minister, Angie Motshekga, will be releasing the Matric results for the class of 2023. She'll also be hosting 30 top achievers. These are top achievers who've really done well in various schools. And I understand this is from about 34 categories. They will receive awards here today as well. So taking back a look back to last year, we're looking at about well over 800,000 of those matriculants that sat for that matric examination last year. And the quality assurer, Umalusi, basically giving the green light to how those examinations had gone ahead. Just a few glitches here and there, printing errors, but really nothing to write home about in terms of serious challenges that were faced during the time of the sitting of those examinations. And also this particular cohort of matriculants not really affected their leisure by, the effects of COVID-19. At the time, they'd been in grade 10 and 11. And what they basically had to contend with, some of the issues were a trimmed curriculum is what they had to contend with. But I don't want to waste any more time. There's a lot of expectation. I can tell you, with these results that will be released at the different schools tomorrow, I am sure those matriculants from the class of 2023, it's absolutely nerve-wracking. So let's see if all of the hard work that they put in is really going to pay off. And we'll hear from the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, a little bit later on. Is there going to be an improvement? We'll certainly be watching. But I want to bring in the South African Democratic Teachers Union's Mugwena Maluleke. Baba Maluleke, thank you very much for your time. You've been in and out of meetings. Do you have any idea of what we're looking at?
Wow.
I'm not any idea of what we're looking at? Your expectation, are we likely to see an improvement?
Thanks for having us indeed. Luckily, I'm not from any meeting.
Okay.
So I don't know what's happening. So I can say surely that our expectation is that there will be an improvement.
Yeah.
One, in terms of the overall pass rate, an improvement. But SATU has always been very clear. We are looking at the quality of education improving. We are looking at the rural provinces, really in the quintile 1 up to quintile 3 schools, where it's a no-fee school, coming from a very poor socio-economic background, really catching up with those that are in quintile 4 and quintile 5. Basically, you're talking about the two economic situation. And those who have got, swimming pools the size of an Olympic one, and those that do not have anything. And we are expecting that we will see rural provinces really making strides in making sure that they improve the quality, one, because of language.
Part of those strides, perhaps, I know that there have been a number of interventions that had been made to prop up or to get those matric results up, in particular in these rural schools, which had been performing quite badly for quite some time. Would that be this improvement that you're anticipating as a result of some of these interventions that were made?
Definitely. It is that they improve the matric improvement programs that are there in various provinces, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, where we are really spending a lot of our resources there in making sure that as a rural province we improve there. So we expect that they will continuously be making some improvements. In the Eastern Cape also we have what Funza is a program that we had started a long time ago, and it's already beginning to bear some fruit because we are adopting an indigenous approach in terms of the language. So these are some of the intervention. Of course, there are many interventions by the departments, the camps and so forth, which also make a big difference in terms of improving the results and so forth. So these are some of the things that are there.
Yeah, you're talking about the quality of education. A lot of talk about the quality of education that is given in the public as well as the private institutions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been a challenge when it comes to resources at the schools that have and the schools that have not. How does this weigh in on the kind of results that we see? IEB results, for example, always quite glittery and looking good.
Yeah, we're talking about 900,000 in the public schooling system that we have to be managed public education system. And then the number of bachelors that we're beginning to see in the public schools are really giving us hope that the quality of education is improving. Of course, you cannot compare a rock with an egg. You want to break it very easily. So your IEB has less than 600, less schools, less number of children, but they have got a lot of resources. And the resources have an impact on education. For example, the environment in those particular schools really have an impact on how the behavior of our children will come out, especially in terms of the number of learners in the classes. So if you have got 1:20 and you compare that to 1:79 and 1:115 in Limpopo, clearly it is that in Limpopo it means you are crowd managing. And then you are in a mass meeting as compared to a classroom somewhere else where they have got 15 in a classroom. So yes, we will continue to have those particular differences. However, I think it's critical that we have to say if a school, which is a quintile 1 or quintile 3, it is able to produce the number of bachelors that are there, and they are able to produce the distinctions, because the education is not that different, because the curriculum needs are not that particular difference between the IEB and the NSC.
When it comes to, some of the other unions that I spoke to mentioned precisely the other issues of overcrowding and the filling of teacher posts. Those are some of the challenges that you're having to grapple with at this particular point, because if there aren't enough teachers to attend to classrooms where you have, 70? Learners in those classrooms, you aren't able to give them as much individual attention, if at all, for that matter. Are those some of the issues that you've perhaps been raising with the department? Are you getting any headway in terms of getting those addressed?
Well, we were hoping that we will be able to have some kind of improvement around that. For 3 years ago, we have made great improvement. We have made progress around that. But with the budget cuts that have been implemented last year and are going to be implemented this year, we are going to see regression. And that is unfortunate, because with an austerity measures, you're going to have teachers not being employed, substitute teachers not employed. For example, you have a school that really is for school learners who need special attention. And therefore, they are there for 9 months and they cannot get a teacher for physical science. What do you expect? Even if we have got the best markers in the world, you can't make them to pass. So those are some of the things. Budget cuts are not necessary in education. Education is a social vaccine, and with this all social ills that we have in our communities, we can be able to deal with them when we resource our schools better, so that we have got psychosocial services, which is a need, and therefore we have not been able to access that. But we're beginning to see the students, the teachers building resilience, but it is not enough, because they need the support. They don't need only thank you after they've done so well, but they need to be supported, materially and in terms of financial resources.
What changes perhaps? I was in fact yesterday with the minister at a school in Garankuwa, and of course we had so many of the kids going back to school. The issue of learner materials as well, listening to what the minister had said, was that they are not able to deliver the material to the schools as they begin the schooling year because of issues pertaining to safety. Breaking into some of these schools, taking some of the materials that are placed there for learners and teachers to kickstart the year on the go.
These are social ills that we have got to deal with. The school is a microcosm of the society.
Indeed.
And then it is going to be, affected by what is happening. Look, even food. I mean,
indeed,
these kids,
the food as well. The minister did indicate, in fact, that the children or the learners at that particular school in Garankuwa were not really going to get a full meal, because the nutrition that's supposed to be brought to the school, it can't be put there. But people are breaking into the schools and taking what is required for for these learners to excel.
Exactly. I mean, it's a society where we live, not showing love, not showing care, and being considerate to our children, that we cannot really destroy the future of our children. And those are the things that we're dealing with. But if we're going to continue to have austerity measures, and I want to go back there, because I think I need to make it very clear that if we're going to have austerity measures, we don't have teachers on time, and we don't have the resources that we need, we're not going to be able to impact positively and very, aggressively on the social ills that are there. Because if crime is going to be there, it's those who drop out in our schools, because clearly is that they don't have the support, and we don't have the necessary resources in terms of psychosocial services, in terms of any other therapy that you need, and therefore they drop out because they think they cannot make it. It is so regrettable, and therefore we need to address those issues.
So what is the ratio that we're looking at the moment in terms of teachers, perhaps to give us a sense of what we're dealing with? Because I kind of picked that up from the unions, that when it comes to issues of teachers and posts that need to be filled, and so that it's able to match what we're seeing, the hunger for education, teachers versus the number of learners that we're seeing in our schools?
Look, currently what we have is 1:14 primary schools. And that's not a realistic number, because if there are no resources to empower that particular teacher, you don't. So if we were to go to 1:28, that would be realistic, and therefore that would be reasonable for us to then say, yes, there's going to be individual attention, yes, there's going to be support, there's going to be remedial work that is being done. But currently we have adopted a universal policy that is 1:35 in secondary school and 1:40. But in the schools where you don't have the resources, it then double. For example, the school where I visited yesterday is 115 for grade 9 in the classroom in Khamatlala.
115?
So 115 grade 9s in one class.
In one class?
Yeah, because it's infrastructure problem. They don't have enough classrooms. Secondly is that they don't have any additional mobile classes to help them. So clearly it is that in that kind of a situation, we're talking about more teachers. Even if we have more teachers, we can't put 4 teachers in the classroom at the same time. It's not going to work, even if we have them. So in certain schools, we do have more teachers. But because we don't have classrooms, the number of classrooms to really cater for the number of learners that are supposed to be 40 or 35, then we sit with the teachers who have got to making shifts to teach the children.
There have also been some challenges regarding the nutrition program. It was in KwaZulu-Natal last year, and it was in the Eastern Cape, where we saw a disruption to schooling. I think it was for a couple of weeks. Yes, for a couple of weeks, due to some challenges with the school nutrition program. I mean, certainly those are some of the issues that we would need to deal with to ensure that we don't have that kind of disruption to the schooling year.
No, nutrition is fundamental.
Key.
It's very key. It's like the love of the parent to the child. It's very key. You don't expect the child to really benefit from education if you don't give them dose of love. A lot of doses of love you give them. So nutrition is like that. It has got to build that esteem to the child, that you are loved, that you have got dignity, and so forth. So if you have politicians and the Department of Education from time to time changing these policies, which basically is not in the best interest of the children. For example, in KwaZulu-Natal, to centralize what was happening, what was working. Why do you fix something that is not broken? Because we as a principal can take charge of the nutrition. They know the children, they know the community, and therefore there's no need for you to really go and centralize it and disrupt the education for almost 3 months of the education system. So those are the things that we need to address. These are the challenges, but we have to send a warning to the department. Do not fix what is not broken. What is broken is the austerity measures, which must be fixed. What is broken is the infrastructure that needs to be increased so that we can then really be able to have quality education in our schools. But nutrition, please leave it in the hands of the principal. Where one principal has caused problem, it's not everyone. You cannot generalize, because we know when you have decentralized these things, they work better, because there is no possibility of corruption, because centralization is basically driven by corruption.
And I think that's where we're going to have to leave it. Thank you very much indeed. We appreciate your time always. Ahead, of course, of the release of those matric results a bit later on this afternoon into this evening, where the Minister will also be hosting top achievers from various schools. We're talking about 30 of these top achievers that will receive awards today from 34 categories, I understand. Mugwena Maluleke, thank you very much indeed, the South African Democratic Teachers Union. We also hope to speak to Satu after those results are released. But I can tell you, Liesel, looking back to a time when I was in matric, that's a couple of, more than 20 years ago. I can't even count. Didn't do too well in mathematics, but yeah, certainly we look forward to that. And I think everyone is hoping for an improvement, and the nerves are certainly kicking in for those over 800,000 matriculants, the cohort that wrote last year in the year 2023. Back to you in studio for now.